Today in this video, we're going to compare the brand new Warm Audio WA-1B to the iconic and most famous vocal compressor maybe of all time, the original TubeTech CL1b. Let's get into it. So I feel like I need to get a couple disclaimers out of the way up front. One, I love TubeTech compression. It is my favorite flavor of compression. Two, I am more excited about this than I have ever been for any Warm Audio product ever. Now I'm hoping it lives up to the reputation of the original, but we're gonna dig through all of that and find out today. And three, this video is sponsored by Sweetwater. Sweetwater hit me up and asked if I would like to make a video on this compressor and have hands-on with it before it gets released, so the video could go live on the day that it gets released. And because it's a TubeTech style, I'm like, yep, let's do that. However, Sweetwater doesn't get to see this video before it's posted. Warm Audio does not get to see this video before it's posted. And I told them that the only way I would make this video is if I got to compare it to a real one and give my honest thoughts. And just like last time when I did the Warm Audio microphone video, they were like, sounds great. So everything in this video is my real, actual opinions. This is exactly what I think. No one's telling me what to stay in this video. So there will be links down below for this new Warm Audio compressor, and I'll put links down below for the TubeTech as well. You can't get it. It's been out of stock and on back order forever, since like the beginning of COVID, which is one of the reasons that makes this so intriguing, is because you haven't been able to get a CL1b for years now. But if you use those links to purchase either one of these, it goes a long ways to help support this channel, and not just these two compressors. Anytime you use any links on any one of my videos to purchase anything you need, it goes a long ways to help support this channel, so I really appreciate that. And before we get into it, I do want to give a huge shout out to Blackbird Audio Rentals. They operate out of Blackbird Studios here in Nashville, which is one of the most absurd collections of gear on the planet. You can get any piece of hardware, any microphone, pretty much anything you could ever desire, you can rent from Blackbird Audio Rentals, and I think they'll even ship it to you if it's needed. So I will put their info down below as well. Anytime you need to rent any high-end or vintage gear, be sure to look them up. They are the best. Okay, so today we're going to compare these two on vocals, obviously, bass guitar, acoustic guitar, and snare drum. And the reason why I choose these four is because when I'm testing a compressor, if it sounds good on those four things, it's going to sound good on everything. So this is my standard for testing. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to check out the differences, or maybe lack thereof, between these two. We're going to start with vocals, but I want to explain something real quick. You can see some different settings here, like between the thresholds, between the attacks, and what I've had to do here is I tested these on acoustic guitar to really, so it's got some sharp transients, to really wrap my head around what's going on with the attack on these. The Warm Audio seems faster to me. So using my ears, I've had to turn the attack slower on the Warm Audio to make it feel like it's grabbing the same. I hope that makes sense. And the other thing is the ratios are slightly different in terms of getting the same amount of compression, the same amount of gain reduction. And so that's why those are different. And the thresholds are slightly different in terms of getting them to sound the same, or in terms of getting them to compress the same. Now, the release characteristics feel identical to me. The makeup gain is just to do my very best to level match, which this is level matched as best as I can. So let's just take a listen. We're going to start with the Warm Audio on a vocal. This is my good friend Haley Verhalen. I produced this song for her. I'll put all her info down below. If you like her voice as much as I do, go check her music out. Let's listen to the Warm Audio first.
The best things in life, they fly right by, like climbing trees and catching fireflies. Today will be just a memory, might as well make it worth remembering, yeah.
Okay, now let's hear it on the TubeTech.
The best things in life, they fly right by, like climbing trees and catching fireflies. Today will be just a memory, might as well make it worth remembering, yeah. The best things in life, they fly right by, like climbing trees and catching fireflies. Today will be just a memory, might as well make it worth remembering, yeah.
Okay, so differences between them, in my opinion. The warm audio sounds just a little bit warmer to me. Go figure. There seems to be like the lower mid-range is ever so slightly pushed in the warm audio, and the upper mid-range is ever so slightly pushed on the Tube Tech. And we're talking really minimal differences that I think could very easily be changed or eradicated with an EQ if you chose to do so. Outside of that, with these settings dialed in like this, I can't hear a difference. Like that's really, really impressive. Now, these vocals were tracked without compression altogether, and the reason why I have these settings going on here is this is about where I would have it set if I was mixing a vocal. And so in an effort to keep this video short, I'm just gonna use the settings that I would use when I'm actually mixing a song to show you guys this, because otherwise there's no way this video is gonna get way too long. So with that being said, let's move on to acoustic guitar. Something I do want to mention before we get into this is that this is the CL1A, not the CL1B. This is the older version, but the differences are pretty much zero sonically. The differences between the CL1A and the CL1B is that the CL1A has a hand-wired amplifier circuit, and the tubes are outside the chassis. And as far as everything that I could find, the only difference with the CL1B is it is a circuit board mounted amplifier circuit, and the tubes are inside the chassis. And that's the only difference. Circuitry wise, they're supposed to be identical. Sonically, they're supposed to be identical. But if there is going to be a difference, anytime you move to hand wired components, that usually means better. So if anything, the warm audio is going up stiffer competition than a CL1B. So just want to throw that out there because I know someone's going to call it out that this is a CL1A, not a CL1B. Sonically, they're identical. Okay, so let's take a listen to some acoustic guitar now. I did have to change the threshold just a little bit to keep them in the same ballpark. Again, the warm audio feels like it has a faster attack to me than the Tube Tech. This could very well be because this is an old Tube Tech that's had many hundreds or thousands of hours of audio pumped through it, and this is brand new. It could be a difference in tubes. You know, you could swap tubes out between these and see what happens, but just want to be transparent with you guys that I did have to change some stuff. But here we go. Let's take a listen to some acoustic guitar. And now the Tube Tech. Okay, now to me, this is the biggest difference that I found between these two, is that the acoustic guitar, the attack on the Tube Tech, I think, does have just ever so slightly a more natural sounding attack, but you could certainly adjust the attack on the warm audio to get in the same ballpark. Outside of that, you can hear the sonic differences. The warm audio has a little, just the tiniest bit of that lower mid push. The Tube Tech has just the tiniest bit of that upper mid push. And outside of that, like, I don't think you could hear the difference between these two in a mix. If there were drums and bass guitar, and especially if there was a vocal going, I don't think you'd ever be able to tell the difference. Well, it's not like we're talking about like good and bad or good and bad. It's just ever so slightly different, but I don't feel a quality difference personally at all. You guys have to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up, bass guitar. Now this is one of the most famous use cases for the CL1B is bass guitar. There's something about the detector circuit of the bass guitar that holds the low end in exactly the right place. It just locks the low end down. And so these are really, really awesome for low end. Let's see if the Warm Audio WA-1B does the same thing. We're gonna start with the Warm Audio. Now this is pulled from the audio from my signature preamp release. I've got drums going here because I feel like bass guitar, it's important to have something to counterbalance it off of, to have in context. So this is drums and bass guitar, but we're listening to this on bass guitar. Here we go. Okay, now you can again hear how the Warm Audio is just a little thicker, the tiniest bit thicker in the low mids, and the Tube Tech is just a tiniest bit pushed in the upper mids. You can really hear that on the resonance of the bass guitar. Again, I think an EQ, a simple half dB or 1 dB of either direction will get you in the exact same result. So that is really impressive. I have spent a bunch of time on this bass guitar making sure that this is what I think about it, and I really think that this locks the low end down in exactly the same way. Okay, it is time for snare drum. Now I did have to turn the attack a lot slower on the snare drum compared to the Tube Tech in order for it to feel to my ears like they're grabbing the same. So keep that in mind. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm still not maxed out the attack on the slow side, so it doesn't really make any difference in my opinion, but the threshold and the attack are different in order to get to the same sonic character on the snare drum. Here we go, Warm Audio first. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below, the like button. But I'm very impressed. I do not feel like the Warm Audio is of lower quality or is a cheaper sounding compressor. I don't feel that at all. The difference in character to me is that the Tube Tech has just a dB of that upper mid-range push, and the Warm Audio has just maybe a dB of that lower mid-range push. And the attack seems to be faster on the Warm Audio, so you just run a little bit slower attack on the knob to get the exact same vibe. To me, that's it. Like, man, it sounds great. It sounds good enough that I'm gonna keep it and I'm gonna use it all the time because I've always wanted a CL1B. They're expensive, very expensive. This Warm Audio is going to go for $11.99, so you could buy 3 of these for about the price of one CL1B. And I truly believe this is the best compressor that Warm Audio has. In my opinion, this is one of the best compressors under $1,200 you can buy, and it's absolutely going to go in my very short list of recommended compressors under that price range. Now, the other thing that I might be curious to see is tube swaps. I'm sure people are going to be doing this in the future because there's tubes in this. You have the ability to swap tubes and get slightly different characters out of it. So I'm sure there's going to be some people posting posting in the future, in the coming weeks and months, about trying different tubes out and what different characters it made. And that's one of the fun things about tube gear, in my opinion, is that you get that flexibility and you get to switch things up. It's fun, it's neat. Those are just my thoughts. I'm really impressed. Good job, Warm Audio. It's very impressive. And again, they don't get to see this video, and they had no say over what I said in this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to drop me a comment and let me know what you think. Smash the like button, use the links in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.